In the rapidly evolving landscape of artificial intelligence, healthcare has emerged as one of the most promising sectors for transformation. VC funding into AI tools for healthcare was projected to hit $11 billion last year, a staggering figure that underscores the widespread belief that AI will revolutionize this critical industry. While many startups are focusing on patient-facing applications or broad hospital systems, one company has identified a surprisingly overlooked niche with massive potential: pathology labs. Hamburg-based Elea is taking a unique approach to healthcare AI. Rather than creating supplementary tools that work alongside existing systems, they're completely replacing legacy infrastructure with what they call an AI operating system. Their focus on pathology labs facilities responsible for analyzing patient samples for disease represents a strategic entry point into the broader healthcare ecosystem. What makes Elea's approach particularly interesting is their emphasis on workflow transformation. Pathology labs follow a methodical, often manual process that creates numerous opportunities for AI-driven efficiency gains. By targeting this specific department first, Elea believes they can perfect their model before expanding to other healthcare domains. The traditional workflow in pathology labs is ripe for disruption. Typically, pathologists examine tissue samples, dictate their findings, and then wait for these observations to be transcribed, formatted, and distributed through various legacy information systems. This process can take weeks, creating bottlenecks that delay patient care and strain healthcare resources. Elea's system fundamentally reimagines this workflow. As CEO and co-founder Dr. Christoph Schrader explains, "We basically turned this all around and all of the steps are much more automated." Doctors speak to Elea. The medical technical assistants speak to Elea, tell them what they see, what they want to do with it. The AI agent then performs all necessary tasks in the system, from printing documents to preparing slides and managing staining processes. This isn't merely an augmentation of existing systems, it's a complete replacement. It doesn't really augment anything, it replaces the entire infrastructure, Schrader emphasizes. The cloud-based software aims to supplant not just legacy systems but also the siloed approach of using discrete applications for different tasks. The AI operating system orchestrates everything, creating a unified workflow that dramatically reduces friction points. Technically speaking, Elea builds on various large language models through fine-tuning with specialist information and data. The platform incorporates speech-to-text functionality to transcribe staff voice notes, but goes further with what they call text-to-structure, converting these transcriptions into actionable directions that power the AI agent's activities. This can include sending instructions to laboratory equipment to maintain workflow continuity. While Elea plans to eventually develop its own foundational model for slide image analysis to enhance diagnostic capabilities, their current focus remains on scaling their initial offering. The value proposition is compelling. Processes that previously took 2 to 3 weeks can now be completed in hours or days. This efficiency gain comes from eliminating the tedious back-and-forth that characterizes manual report typing, where human error and workflow quirks introduce significant friction. The system offers multiple access points for lab staff, including an iPad app, Mac app, and web app, providing flexibility for different user preferences. This accessibility is crucial for adoption in environments where digital literacy varies widely among staff members. Founded in early 2024 after spending time in stealth during 2023, Elea brings together expertise from both technology and healthcare. Schrader himself has a background in applying AI for autonomous driving projects at companies like Bosch, Luminar, and Mercedes. Meanwhile, co-founder Dr. Sebastian Kasu, who serves as the startup's CMO, contributes clinical experience from more than a decade working in intensive care, anesthesiology, and emergency departments, as well as previous experience as a medical director for a large hospital chain. The company has already established a partnership with a major German hospital group that processes approximately 70,000 cases annually, giving their system hundreds of users. While they haven't disclosed the specific hospital group, they indicate that more customers are expected to launch soon, and international expansion, particularly into the US market, is on the horizon. To fuel this growth, Elea secured a €4 million seed round last year, led by Fly Ventures and Giant Ventures. This funding has primarily been used to build out their engineering team and deploy the product to initial users. While this figure might seem modest compared to the billions flowing into healthcare AI annually, Schrader argues that AI startups don't necessarily need massive engineering teams or hundreds of millions in funding to succeed. You also don't need gazillions of engineers anymore, you need a dozen, 2 dozen really good ones, he contends. We have 2 dozen engineers, roughly, on the team. And they can get done amazing things. This lean approach represents what Schrader describes as a paradigm shift in how you build companies, focusing on quality over quantity when it comes to technical talent. The decision to start with pathology labs wasn't arbitrary. Beyond representing a multi-billion-dollar addressable market, pathology is what Schrader characterizes as extremely global. Unlike the fragmented hospital market, pathology labs around the world operate with remarkable similarity, making it easier to scale a software-as-a-service solution internationally. For us, it's super interesting because you can build one application and actually scale already with that from Germany to the UK, the US, Schrader explains. Everyone is thinking the same, acting the same, having the same workflow. And if you solve it in German, the great thing with the current LLM is, then you solve it also in English and other languages like Spanish. So it opens up a lot of different opportunities. Additionally, pathology represents one of the fastest growing areas in medicine, according to Schrader. Advances in medical science, such as the rise of molecular pathology and DNA sequencing, are creating demand for more types of analyses and greater frequency of testing. This increasing workload puts pressure on labs to become more productive, creating an ideal environment for Elea's efficiency-focused solution. Once Elea has established itself in the pathology space, the company plans to explore other healthcare applications, but always with a strict focus on workflow optimization. What we want to bring is this workflow mindset, where everything is treated like a workflow task, and at the end, there is a report and that report needs to be sent out, Schrader says. In a hospital context, they wouldn't aim to provide diagnostics but would really focus on operationalizing the workflow. Image processing represents another area of interest for future applications, such as accelerating data analysis for radiology. This step-by-step expansion strategy allows Elea to perfect their approach in one department before moving to the next, ensuring that each implementation builds on proven success. Of course, applying AI in healthcare raises important questions about accuracy and safety. In pathology, where analyses might determine whether tissue is cancerous, any errors in AI transcriptions could have serious consequences if there's a mismatch between what a doctor says and what the system reports. Elea addresses this concern through continuous evaluation of accuracy metrics, such as tracking how many characters users change in AI-generated reports. Currently, Schrader notes that in 5% to 10% of cases, some manual interactions occur with these automated reports, potentially indicating errors. However, he also suggests that doctors may make changes for other reasons, and the company is working to reduce the percentage of cases requiring manual intervention. Ultimately, Schrader emphasizes that the responsibility for verification remains with the human professionals who review and approve the AI outputs. He argues that Elea's workflow isn't fundamentally different from legacy processes where, for example, a doctor's voice note would be typed up by human transcriptions that could also contain errors. It's just that the initial creation is done by Elea, not by a typist, he explains. However, the increased throughput enabled by automation could potentially put pressure on these verification processes, as staff must review more data and reports than before. Recognizing this risk, Elea has built in what Schrader calls a safety net feature, where the AI attempts to identify potential issues and prompts doctors to take a second look. We call it a second pair of eyes, he notes, adding that the system evaluates previous findings reports with what the doctor said right now and gives him comments and suggestions. Patient confidentiality represents another critical concern, particularly for an AI system that relies on cloud-based processing rather than keeping data on-premise under the lab's direct control. Elea addresses this through pseudonymization, separating patient identities from diagnostic outputs to ensure data protection compliance. It's always anonymous along the way, every step just does one thing and we combine the data on the device where the doctor sees them, Schrader explains. So we have basically pseudo-IDs that we use in all of our processing steps that are temporary, that are deleted afterward but for the time when the doctor looks at the patient, they are being combined on the device for him. The company maintains strict data privacy standards, using servers located in Europe and ensuring compliance with relevant regulations. Our lead customer is a publicly owned hospital chain called Critical Infrastructure in Germany. We needed to ensure that, from a data privacy point of view, everything is secure, and they have given us the thumbs up, Schrader notes. Ultimately, we probably overachieved what needs to be done. But it's always better to be on the safe side, especially if you handle medical data. Looking ahead, Elea plans to raise a larger series around, likely this summer, to fuel more aggressive marketing efforts. Until now, they've relied primarily on word of mouth to attract customers, but they're preparing to shift gears into active outreach to accelerate adoption. What distinguishes Elea from many competitors in the healthcare AI space is their comprehensive approach. I think a big difference is it's a spot solution versus vertically integrated, Schrader explains. Many AI tools for healthcare function as add-ons to existing systems, requiring users to learn new interfaces and workflows. It's something that users need to do on top of another tool, another UI, something else that people that don't really want to work with digital hardware have to do, and so it's difficult, and it definitely limits the potential, he observes. In contrast, Elea has integrated it deeply into our own laboratory information system, or we call it pathology operating system, which ultimately means that the user doesn't even have to use a different UI, doesn't have to use a different tool. And it just speaks with Elea, says what it sees, says what it wants to do, and says what Elea is supposed to do in the system. This seamless integration represents a fundamental rethinking of how AI can transform healthcare workflows. Rather than layering new technologies on top of outdated systems, Elea is building a ground-up solution that addresses the core inefficiencies in pathology labs. By starting with this specific niche and perfecting their approach before expanding, they are positioning themselves to potentially make a significant impact across the healthcare ecosystem. The early results are promising. After approximately 6 months with their first users, Elea reports that their system has reduced the time required to produce about half of lab reports to just 2 days, a dramatic improvement over traditional timeframes. If they can maintain this level of efficiency as they scale, the implications for healthcare productivity could be substantial. As AI continues to reshape industries around the world, Elea's focused approach to healthcare transformation offers an interesting case study in how targeted solutions can address specific pain points before expanding to broader applications. By tackling the overlooked but critical area of pathology labs, they're demonstrating that sometimes the most impactful innovations begin in unexpected places.